I've had countless people say things like, you just take this so well. You're such a joy. You're so smiley, and like horrible things are going through your life. Like, how do you have such a great attitude through all of this? And I feel like being able to explain that it's all God has been the best way to shine his light. So my name is Robyn Redkay. I am 21 years old. I live in Lancaster County, and I was diagnosed with acute lymphomatic leukemia, T-cell, in March of 2023. I went to urgent care. They sent me to the emergency room, got blood work done, and they came in and were like, you have leukemia. We need to send you to Hershey. I started to kind of know that something was going awry when I developed these strange, what I thought were boils or something on my arm and my shoulder, and I developed one on my leg. And then I developed cold symptoms. Being 20, I was sort of on that line between pediatric and adult, and the adult bed is what they had available. My now pediatric oncologist came in and introduced himself and started talking about the types of leukemia there are, and then he started talking about 4 diamonds and how if I were considered a pediatric patient, my bills and everything would be covered by the 4 Diamonds Association, and that sort of was a big, like, where do I sign? But very much specifically, the year before I was diagnosed, I had, 2 years before, but I had gone through a series of relationships that just, it was me forcing myself into a relationship and choosing the relationship over what I heard the Holy Spirit saying and what I heard God saying. And so when I finally gave up those relationships and realized that I was, in a way, sort of rebelling against what God wanted for my life, I found that the only way for me to get over those relationships was to dive harder into my relationship with God. I just had to say, okay, God, I know I'm supposed to forgive them, but your will be done, whatever it is. Whether that is that they have really fulfilling lives or whether they go down and have very not fulfilling lives. It isn't my place to judge, and it isn't my place to decide. And so I'm giving this up to you. And that whole experience kind of grew my relationship with God and my trust in God, and knowing that his will was much better than my own. Which then kind of leads me to the place where I was at when I got diagnosed. And I think that was probably the strongest aspect that helped me have that peace through the diagnosis. That and a lot of compartmentalization. Obviously, it's a very, very traumatic experience to be in the middle of getting your degree in engineering and having these friends and having this life where you're finally being an independent adult, and then being told you have this disease, this life-threatening illness that you have to stop what you're doing completely and fight for your life. And that's something that I definitely would not have been ready to take on head on by myself. Just knowing that I am not in control, which is still a struggle daily sometimes. I do better than some other people in my family, accepting that I'm not in control. Just the peace I have with it sometimes, knowing that I'm not in control and that God is in control. And no matter what happens, no matter the good that's happening, no matter the bad that's happening, God is in control, and He has a better plan for my life than I could ever imagine. There were times where I felt angry, especially once I got through sort of the meat of the chemotherapy, once I got to maintenance. But in maintenance, I still wasn't necessarily feeling better, even though, like, my doctor said maintenance is normally a lot easier, and it wasn't a lot easier at the beginning, and I was just going through a lot. I was getting to a point where I was just so angry. I was like, okay, God, I've kind of put off letting myself accept that I'm angry with you for this long, because if I let myself accept it earlier, I probably would have gone through very different sort of journey. But I was like, okay, God, I'm so angry. But it kind of brought me to the book of Job. So when I could accept that God didn't give me cancer, it was frustrating to kind of recognize that He also didn't stop it. But that also led me to know that He was going to use whatever it was for something better, whatever that may be. And I'm still learning what that could possibly be. But it wasn't so much God not protecting me as much as it was God preparing me. Yeah, having to wake up every morning through the hardest parts and continue to fight. There were days where I knew that I couldn't breathe without God, and just knowing that He's helping me through it all. And there were even times, I can think of 2 real specific times that were experiences that really helped my faith in knowing that God's love for me was there and real. And it was 2 of the hardest times in my treatment. It was after for the first time was after I was going through a lot of shots, which were horrible. And I was just overall not feeling well, but on top of that, having a lot of nausea. And then it was just the anxiety of knowing that every 48 hours I had to come here to Hershey and get more shots. And it was just very, very difficult time. And there was one night, probably a night before I was going in for more shots the next day, I was just crying out to God. I was like, God, I don't think I can do this. I just need some relief. Even if that relief is just an inch, I need to be able to breathe. And then the next morning I come in and I had a new doctor, and not a new doctor, but I had a different doctor seeing me, and she was hearing how I was just dealing with a lot of nausea and different things like that. And she was like, well, how about we try this medication? I've had an experience with several of my patients where we've gone through the same thing, and it's really helped them. And not immediately, but within 4 or 5 days of starting taking that medication, I got the fresh breath that I needed. And it was such obviously a God thing to me. And then the second time was a different time where I was at some of my lowest point, and I was just like, I don't think I can keep taking this medication. It's making me feel worse and worse and worse. And it was during a time in my maintenance where my blood counts were super duper low, and they weren't supposed to be as low as they were. And basically that same day, I got a call from my doctor saying, hey, we need you to stop the medication for a certain amount of time because your counts are way too low and we need your body to be able to recover more. And that was like another time where it was like, wow, it was exactly what I needed to get through the next day. even if it helps one other person, I know that what I'm going through is worth it. And if you can hold on to knowing that God's love is there for you, you will get through this, and you will have a deeper, greater relationship with God, and that will get you through anything.